This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
So good.
New markdowns up to 70% off are at Nordstrom Rack stores now. Fresh kicks, spring tops, new dresses. There's always a score.
I mean, the denim section is unreal.
Why do I rack? All the dresses. I always find something amazing.
Head to your Nordstrom Rack store to find can't-miss deals on all the spring things. Great brands, great prices. That's why you rack.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Jacob Minter. Yeah, good job with the shot, and the Slough Jets have taken the lead on the power play. With the shot force goal. No need to stay from Lorde, and Campbell finds himself in, and it's 3-1 to the Chelsea Chieftains.
Hello and welcome to Zero Pucks Given, the UK Ice Hockey Podcast. We're in partnership with the Hockey Art Co., hockey clothing for hockey people, worn by the best and hated by the rest. Listeners to Zero Pucks Given get a 10% discount on everything site-wide from hockeyartclothing.co.uk. Just use the code ZP10. We're also in partnership with Manscaped, the globally recognised male grooming brand, with top-of-the-range products such as the Weed Whacker, the Lawn Mower, the Beard Hugger and the Dome Shaver Pro. You can get 20% off of everything from manscaped.com, including the Performance Package 5.0, when you use the code ZeroPucks20. You also get free shipping, so it's an absolute no-brainer. We are also in partnership with the Sports Social Podcast Network. It's the largest sport podcast network in Europe, boasting over 500 podcasts from more than 20 different sports, and we're delighted that ZPG Ice Maidens and Zero Pucks Given are a part of it. Well, hello, welcome along. This is episode 160, our little roundup episode of everything that's gone on in the Britton Division and beyond. This weekend we will catch you up with some of the stuff that's gone on up north as well, because titles have been won up north, just as the South One title race absolutely catches fire. There's an episode of 4,000 Counting coming out this week where I join Nikki to talk about the business end of the season as we wind down towards the Steel City Showdown at Sheffield, where we will both be in attendance, getting as much content as we can for everybody that is there and can't be there. I did say on that podcast, I think there might be one more twist left in this title race, and boy was I right. I think I've got a little crystal puck actually with some of the stuff I've predicted over the course of this season so far. But we will get to those games in a minute. We'll start with the news in the Britton Division, and we will start with DOPS. There is a couple of suspensions that were announced for the Britton Division, starting with Brandon Miles, who was given 3 games for fighting after that incident in the Streatham game from last week. Unless Brandon didn't ice against Oxford last week, I actually think that might be his league season done, and he won't be back until the playoffs, as the Slough Jets have got 3 games left in their league season to go. There was another one as well from Swindon. Alfie Druitt received 10 games for abuse of official. I don't know what was actually said. I'd absolutely love to know for it to be worthy of 10 games. There was, however, 4 of them suspended, so it's just a 6-game total for Alfie Druitt. But from all the drama we had last year with the DOPS, Darcy Flanagan, of course, getting a 10-game ban for a check to the head, and then it all went tits up. Do you know what I mean? There was investigations. I know, say Nikki over at 4,000 Accounting did a fantastic job as well with Morsey, kind of getting to the bottom of what was going on there, which sort of prompted the whole change. But if you're going to be giving out 10-game bans, then abusive official is certainly one that should be up there, as well as, dangerous boardings and checks to the head and, knees and kicks and things. Because, these guys, they do a fantastic job that not many people would be willing to step up and do, and without them, we have no game. So, a 10-game ban, reduced to 6 with 4 suspended for Alfie Druitt for abuse of official. There was also some milestones this weekend that we'll give you before we go through the games. Ben Ely Newman made his 50th appearance for Slough when he iced for them on Saturday. on Saturday against Invicta. Jack Goodchild scored a point this weekend as well that took him to the 29th in the all-time list of scorers for the Slough Jets, whilst Conor Redmond also bagged a point, and that took him to the 43rd all-time scorer at Slough Jets. And Alex Murray at Solent Devils, he notched a point on Sunday that took him to 600 points in total for Solent Devils. Last week, I think he clocked up his 400th game, so absolutely incredible stuff from Muzzer down there. As a man I've got so much time for, as a man, a player and a coach as well, so really, really fantastic achievement from Mr. Murray down there on the South Coast. Right then, let's get to the games. 7 games this weekend. As I said, the title race absolutely catching fire after that game between Slough and Streatham last week that went the way of Streatham. Just the one game for both sides this weekend. So it, as I said, absolutely catching fire. But as we do where we can, we will start on the South Coast with the 5 p.m. face-off as the City Stars headed down to face the Solent Devils at Planet Ice in Gosport. Well, the Stars haven't travelled particularly well this season. The wins that they've got have generally come at home. But I tell you, the performance that these guys put on Saturday night, they went down there with, not an enormous roster available to them, bigger than sometimes that they've had. They had Ross Miller for the pipes and Caleb Paul backing up, who's an incredibly talented goalkeeper. I think we will see a lot more of Caleb Paul in the coming years, particularly in the men's league as well as in the women's league. But the Oxford City Stars actually took the lead after a fairly even start on 10:09. Himran Ross gave them the lead. Fair play to Solent, though. They did hit straight back, actually, through Jack Peacock on 12:31 to make it 1-1. Into the second, though, and Oxford really did come out and lay down a bit of a marker as Mario Kiru went unassisted to make it 2-1 on 23 flat, before Felix Hemmings-Mayer made it 3-1 on 37:31. Then there was the timeout was called by Solent. The group kind of regrouped, and then they did what they really do best in their own rink, where they scored 2 quickly, really back-to-back inside of 42 seconds, as Mark Pitts firstly made it 3-2 on 31:08, followed by Mason Wild equalising on 31:50. Into the third period, I think the words that were spoken in the dressing room in the break and also from the timeout rang true again, and Kane Russell put them ahead on 46:36 before Mark Pitts put the game to bed on 48:10. It was made a bit more uncomfortable for the home side as Johan Persson pulled one back on 51:14. Not great deal of penalty action. It's a sort of rink where power plays are really important because it is so small. No power play goals on the night. From what we can see, but there were chances, but both teams killing quite well. So a really, really strong performance from the Oxford City Stars. They've got work to do now to make sure that they qualify for the playoffs in 8th position. We'll get to why that is a little later on. But after just having that one game weekend, Mark Saunders gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Another single game weekend this weekend for the Oxford City Stars as we went down to Solent to play the Solent Devils for the last time this season. Knowing that the games are getting fewer and fewer and we need points and we need them quickly. So, we set out the team to obviously nullify that rink and try and play a system that we thought was going to be able to give us a good chance of success down there. And halfway through the game at 3-1 up, the boys were playing absolutely fantastically. We completely nullified that team. They weren't able to get started. They weren't able to get moving. And it was doing exactly what we designed it to do. A timeout called at 3-1 and then, penalties in my opinion, that were highly questionable. But, that's the ups and downs of a season, unfortunately, and it can hurt you. And 3 power play goals for them on the night tell a story, I think. And to take it back to 5-4 in the third period after, from 3-1 up to 5-3 down, to then bring it back to 5-4, I had every hope that we were going to kind of snag something at the end. And the boys deserved it. We were the better team on the night, 100%. We deserved something from that game. And to walk out of there with nothing, you feel really hard done by. And it's a long trip home when you feel like you've given everything you can to a game. And unfortunately, the sport doesn't allow you that kind of nicety, right? So we left with nothing. I think if we'd have played an extra 5 minutes, we'd have taken that to overtime for sure. If it had been an extra 10 minutes, we might have won it. But, that's not how the game goes. You don't get extra time for nothing. And we come out of there 5-4 losers on the night. And it's a real tough one to take because the boys were set up and we set them up in a way that was prepared to, nullify a team that obviously played that rink very well. And they did everything that we'd asked them to. They dotted their I's, they crossed their T's. They, the attention to detail from the boys on Saturday night was just another level. And when you empty the tank like that, you'd like to think that you'd get something from the game. But, this is sport, and specifically ice hockey. We know that you don't get things for nothing. And it's a hard one to take. I think everyone in our dressing room left that rig on Saturday night feeling that we were the better team and that we felt that we should have got something from it. But, as I said before, that's not the bounces. That's not how it goes. And, we have to dust down for a week of practice, and we take on the Victor Dynamos on Sunday at home, and then we're away to Swindon for our last game of the season in 2 weeks. And with the way the results have gone last night, it's even more of a upheaval for us to get those points to get into that last 8 spot. But we're not gonna give up. We're gonna keep trying. We're gonna keep pushing right to the last minute. And we know that if we play as we did on Saturday, even though we came out with nothing, anything's possible. Again, another special mention to the Oxford City Stars fans. They came down there, filled that stand next to the bench, and they were loud all night. I mean, they were with us right from the minute the puck dropped, right to the end of the game. And, it was a pleasure to see them enjoy the game, and obviously the boys enjoyed the game as well. So we look forward to another tough week in practice, get ourselves ready for the Dynamos as they come in, and, we'll see everybody in the Ox Pens on Sunday night.
Saturday saw the Invicta Dynamos make the trip to the hangar to face the Slough Jets, who were no doubt reeling from that gasp defeat to Streatham last week, as they were trying to still keep in that title race. They got off to a cracking start when Ben Ely Newman gave them the lead on his 50th appearance for Slough on 5:33, quickly doubled by Jack Goodchild, that point taking him to the 29th all-time scorer for Slough. Into the second period, and I don't think Cole Lennon was particularly happy with how things were going for Invicta, but it didn't change, and Slough got their power play really going to work after some penalties early in that second period for Tom Saw, a delay of game penalty. And in that power play, Ollie Hemmings-Mayer gave Slough a 3-goal lead on 27:45. Straight after that, another power play after Louis White took a seat for roughing, and Christian Moore got his name on the score sheet. Minter and Hemmings-Mayer on the assist. Jacob Minter, always quite handy on the power plays, picks up a lot of points in those special teams for the Slough Jets. And then literally 15 seconds after scoring that goal, Aaron Edworthy went unassisted to make it 5-0 to Slough. Into the last 10 minutes of that second period, and Seb Moore, he made it 6-0 on 33:52. After that, though, there was so I've heard it called dubious. I've not seen a video of it myself. I'm sure we might hear something from Dops in the next week. Juha Lindgren was given 5+ game for a check to the head, giving the Invicta Dynamos a 5-minute power play at the end of the second period, where they did pull one back when Regan O'Neill and Cameron Pywell assisted Mad Stoon to make it 6-1 on 36:57. However, though, while still in that power play, the Jets went pulled another goal, short-handed goal, as Seb Moore went unassisted to make it 7-1 on 39:46 with a short-hander. Into the start of the third period, and the Jets scored again when Minter and English assisted Christian Moore to make it 8-1. Before they got back on the power play again after Bronyman sat for hooking, and then Connor Redmond scored his point that took him to the 43rd in the all-time list of Slough Jets scorers. Hemmingsmere and Cape Humphrey on the assist for that power play goal. And after Dylan Worthy was sacked for tripping, Ben Neely Newman notched his second on the power play as well to make it 10-1 on 46-57. And the game rounded off by Ollie Hemmingsmere, who had an absolutely cracking game, 11-1 on 53-58. A really, really top game for that young man. He's had a really good breakout season, actually. He was good last year, but this year he has been even better. And they put to bed the memories of that home defeat to Streatham by putting Invicta Dynamos to the sword, 11-1. Invicta, of course, they had a bit of a rough weekend last weekend, being beaten by Chelmsford quite handily as well. A team that's really blown hot and cold this year. So I don't imagine that many people held many high hopes as the Streatham Redhawks made the trip to Planet Ice in Gillingham on a Sunday. But we'll get to that game when we get there. The final game of Saturday saw the Chelmsford Chieftains making that long trip west across the M4 and across that Severn Bridge to face the Cardiff Fire at the Vindico Arena in Cardiff Bay. Quite a handy group of travelling supporters for the Chieftains as well, making a lot of noise. It's a fantastic arena. It does seem to get quite full, actually, when the Canucks do their free tickets in the NIHL 2 South, and they get a lot of people in there, which is terrific. But it's when the Devils aren't playing, I would love more people to go and see the Fire and pack that arena for them. But it was the visitors that kind of took control of the game quite early. Cameron Bartlett getting the Chieftains in front on 4:17 after Lewis Stevens getting called for hooking on 7:59. Almost immediately, the Chieftains doubled their advantage with the Bartlett Bros on the assist for Halden Barnes-Garner. Before the first was out, the Chieftains had doubled that 2-0 lead when Alan Lack scored to make it 3-0 on 15:45, proper captain's goal. And a couple of seconds before the buzzer, Dylan Dix made it 4-0, giving the Chieftains a fairly handy 4-0 lead from the first period. Into the second, then a breakaway from Cardiff saw them pull one back when James assisted Chris Fox to make it 4-1 on 22:45. But the Chieftains just came straight back at them with a second goal from Alan Lack on 27:41. Grant Bartlett added his name to the score sheet just after the halfway mark, making it 6-1. Before Dylan Dix was given a charging penalty, but short-handed Sasha Maltsev laid on the assist for Ollie Baldock to nick that shorty, making it 7-1 on 32:47. Into the final 10 minutes of the third period then, and 3 goals added in the space of about 4 minutes to top the night off for the Chieftains. A second goal for Cameron Bartlett, a second goal for Grant Bartlett, and a second goal for Holden Barnes-Garner as the Chieftains mimic the result from their 10-1 victory at home to Cardiff last week. They make it 10-1 on the road as well. They will head home for the Essex Derby on Sunday, where they will face the Romford Buccaneers at the Riverside, whilst the Cardiff Fire will make that dodgy Sunday night trip to the Link Centre in Swindon. So into Sunday night then, and the Streatham Redhawks, of course, fresh from winning that top of the league tie at the Slough Jets last week with that 4-2 victory. They headed to the Invicta Dynamos to play their game of the weekend. Obviously, Invicta taking that pasting in Slough the night before. And the Invicta fans could have been forgiven for thinking it might go that way again when Dylan Worthy was giving a penalty on 3:20, giving the Redhawks a really early power play that they took advantage of just 9 seconds after the puck drop as Skokan and Porter assisted Aidan Doughty to make it 1-0 on 3:29. Invicta, though, they gathered themselves well and they equalised in the very next shift as Connolly assisted James Lamming to make it 1-1 on 4:20. Into the second period, and as that one got going, Harrison Lillis providing his 5th assist of the season. Quite a quiet year for Lillis. He does normally put up a few more assist points than that. But it was Mad Stoon that got the go-ahead goal, his 20th of the season, to make it 2-1 on 24:54. Heading towards the back end of the second period, and Streatham pulled it back level when Ziggy Beasley and Damon Porter assisted Thomas Skokan to make it 2-2 on 34:44. Into the third period, though, and on 48:21, with the Invicta Dynamos on the power play after Luke Brittle had been boxed for interference, Connolly put the real high check on as Streatham were trying to build from behind their own goal, forced the error, stole the puck from behind the goal and tucked it inside the near post to make it 3-2 to the Invicta Dynamos on 48:21. Despite some real heavy attacking play and pulling Milton with over a minute left, the Redhawks couldn't force an equaliser. They take the loss on the road, which leaves the Slough Jets at the top of the table, and the league title is back in their hands with just 3 games to go for both sides. after an absolutely incredible game at the Stables. Coming out on the losing side was not a happy evening for Streatham Redhawks player coach Ben Painter.
Yeah, obviously, one game weekend away to Invicta on Sunday. As I said before, must-win games for us now along the stretch. And ultimately, we weren't good enough on the night to get it done. Obviously, losing 3-2 away in a game that I thought we were really good for the first 15 minutes. I think we controlled the play. We were moving the puck well. Went up early, and I think we were looking good. But ultimately, Invictus scored pretty quickly after our goal, which then was literally the only lead we had in the game for a couple of minutes. And unfortunately, you can't win hockey games by not sustaining any leads and not putting that pressure on. I think we showed spells of good play, but in the end, really, I think Invicta grew into the game. I think if you look at it as a whole game, they played a better game than us in terms of executing their game plan. It's a hard place to play, and they know how to play that ring and the bounces and the scrappiness of it. And they played a simple game that got them the job done. Clinical when they needed to be, and ultimately three mistakes lead to 3 goals for them. I wouldn't say they were well worked goals from them. I'd say they were off the back of our mistakes, but at the same time, like, it's not just those 3 mistakes. We made far too many mistakes across the ice all night. And when we're up against it like that, and we know we have to be winning, we have to be better, we have to step up, and we have to have guys lead, and has to be everyone. And ultimately, I don't think we were good enough. We definitely didn't deserve to win the game, to be honest with you. I think the effort was there. We worked hard, we tried hard, but in the grand scheme of things, we weren't where we needed to be, and ultimately paid the price for it. So yeah, very disappointing. Obviously now we're now relying on a slow slip up to win the league, which no one wants to be winning the league like that. We wanted to be in the driving seat, but we just got to do what we can and win our remaining 3 games and see where we are.
And after his side blew more hot and more cold than they have done in this hot and cold season, Invicta Dynamo's head coach Cole Lennon gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Roller coaster of a weekend for us, one that I don't wish to relive, if I'm honest. I think across the weekend we showed everything that was bad, ugly, good, amazing about us as a team, and honestly we need to find some middle ground behind the performances. And we started on Saturday in Slough, and we couldn't have had a worse day at the office, if I'm honest. It was a week we felt like we'd prepared pretty well for them, and I think we started pretty good. We had, I think, a lot of chances in the first sort of 4 or 5 minutes, and we had good zone time. They seemed to be a little nervous because, of course, the result meant a lot to them. And they scored a goal, which wasn't against the run of play, but it was at least fortuitous, and Brad probably would want it back. And then they just built on that confidence, and they got one quickly after, and we just didn't show any response at all. And, I was unhappy about that in the first period break, and told the boys that we need to sort of dial in and fight ourselves back into the game. And we didn't. We gave away so many sloppy penalties in that second period, and they scored literally almost on every power play opportunity that they had. And I think before we knew it, we were sort of 5 or 6 down, and obviously I then had to make the change in net, take Brad out of that situation. It wasn't fair on him. It was, again, no reflection on him. He made a number of big saves in that first part of the game, at least. And so young Nikolai went in, and it's a tough environment for a young goalie to go in, but we have extreme confidence in him and his development. So we trust him in that situation, and he himself did great in the second half of the game. Despite being under a barrage of shots throughout. We were given a bit of a lifeline at the end of the second period, which we didn't take at all. They were given a 5-minute major penalty, which was probably a little questionable, if I'm honest. And we just killed the 5 minutes. We scored a goal, but they scored a shorty, and we didn't really take any advantage of the situation at all. And ultimately, I think they built their confidence from that. I think anything that I could say about it was just as good as they were, and they were very good on Saturday night, we were terrible in equal measure. And it was just sort of a lack of belief and a lack of response that I was most unhappy about. And, you know, I came away from the rink without having spoken to the boys after the game. I was just not in a good headspace. And I knew, of course, we had a big game on Sunday night to sort of think about and try and recover for. So no words were shared. We came to the rink on Sunday, and I made it abundantly clear that a response was needed. And we changed the lines a little bit to sort of spark some life into ourselves and a bit of thought, and try and provoke them a little bit as a team. And yeah, I mean, thankfully we did just that. I mean, we didn't start well. We had, you know, we gave up a power play, which probably was a soft call, but again, we conceded immediately on the power play. But I think what I was most happy about was the response of the players. You know, they scored on the very next shift, got themselves back in the game, and you know, I think from that, you know, we gathered some confidence to say, you know, we can match these guys. And we were good throughout the rest of the first period, good physicality, we had good scoring chances, we just couldn't sort of get that go-ahead goal. The second period was probably a little bit subdued on both parts. I think we both got a goal each, but it didn't feel like, it didn't feel like it was as evenly contested as the first was. And I said to the boys in the second period break, you know, I have a chance to do something for me that I haven't been able to do as a coach, which was beat Streatham on home ice, on our ice, and in front of our fans. We'd done it a couple of times away from home, and it felt great. And I was just so keen for us to do that for each other and for the fans in the building. And yeah, I mean, it was fantastic third period. We matched everything that they had, and I thought, honestly, we probably could have put the game to bed a little earlier than we did. We had so many scoring opportunities. We were very unfortunate not to be up by more than one. And, you know, thankfully we were capable to hold on at the end and get the job done. I mean, there were some standout performances. James Laming was fantastic on the night. Brad in there. I think defensively, our core of defencemen were so solid. And, yeah, I mean, it was a real team effort to get the job done, and like I said, in front of our fans, it was great to do that, and they were beside themselves afterwards, happy, probably as happy as the Slough fans were to hear the result coming through as well at the end of the day. So, no, as a weekend, we were high and low, and you know, at least I had my biggest defeat as a coach on Saturday night, which is completely devastating for me personally, but also for this club and this team, and then we have something we've not done before as a team, which is beat them here. So it couldn't have been more apart. And honestly, the answer, like I said at the start, is somewhere in the middle. We've got to be such a we've got to learn from that lesson ultimately, and we will. And I know this group is capable, more capable probably than they even think they are sometimes, but they've got to have that belief, and certainly important coming up to the playoff time. So we've got another 2 games coming this weekend. We're playing against Swindon at home on Saturday, and we know that they've provided many shocks throughout the course of the season, and every game we've played with them has been evenly contested. So we'll have to be bang on it come Saturday, and on Sunday we have the difficult journey up to Oxford, which historically for Invicta has never been a fun place to go and play. So yeah, we'll get ourselves ready for that, and yeah, look to build on the momentum of yesterday and forget the past of Saturday to build ourselves into this post-season that's coming soon.
Sunday night at the Riverside then saw the Essex Derby. It was charity night as well at the Riverside. Fantastic to see Karen and Roberta from Aching Arms. Mel from Aching Arms was on the podcast about 2.5 years ago now when they first did the first Aching Arms charity game whilst I was doing the podcast there. And hearing about that charity and everything, it's so heartbreaking. It's a charity that's really close to the heart of the Chieftains as well as Fort Lewis. Unfortunately, I didn't see a representative from them there. There may well have been one, but I spoke to Bob McGurrell, who was one of the founders of the Fort Lewis charity. both do incredible work with regards to infant loss, sort of stillborn babies and the likes. The conversations that we had on those podcasts where Bob McGarrell and Mel, beg your pardon, from Aching Arms were on, incredibly triggering but incredibly powerful as well. And the work that those charities do is absolutely phenomenal. And there were so many people there raising funds, raising awareness as well. The 50-50 was a great total. So I'm sure that both charities had a good night money-wise out of it. And Karen and Roberta managed to meet James Buckley as well up on the balcony there. So I know they had a nice little photo with him. But yeah, fantastic charity stuff. But to the game, and as normal when these two play each other, Romford really do turn up and make it difficult for the Chieftains. This is the third time they've played so far this year. Of course, the one back at the Sapphire in November went to overtime. It was an absolutely fantastic game. I think at one point the Buccaneers were 5-2 up in that game as well. So they really do turn up to play Chelmsford. And this game was absolutely no different. And Sonny Phillips had one of those nights that he used to have playing for Chelmsford all the time where he can virtually win a game on his own. But the Romford Buccaneers did take the lead on 10-28 with a goal that I kind of disagreed actually with how it was given. It was given to Megas Canis. I actually thought that Canis' shot was redirected by Callum Burnett in front of the goal, but it was given to Canis, no doubt, from the scorebox and on the game sheet as well. Megas Canis getting that opening goal on 10-28. The Chieftains did hit back quite shortly after, though, when Ollie Baldock and Dan Hitchens assisted Cameron Bartlett to make it 1-1 on 13:07. Into the second period, and Romford continued to really sort of push the Chieftains, and they got a 5-on-3 power play after Callum Wells was given an odd penalty for kneeing that just looked like an innocuous clash between the two players on the blue line. Wells was given 2 for kneeing, and shortly after, Dan Fay was given 2 for tripping. And in that 5-on-3, the Romford Buccaneers went further ahead when Dervish assisted Niels Muscallans for a really classy finish from the right circle, high into the near side to make it 2-1 Romford on 24:39 power play goal. As the game continued, Tom Wilson took a hooking penalty on 32:44, and the Chieftains power play setup was absolutely phenomenal. They got that square going beautifully across the offensive zone, moved the puck really quickly, and when it was set back to Cameron Bartlett on the blue line, he slammed an absolute howitzer low past Sonny Phillips to make it 2-2 on 33:29. The Chieftains then actually turned it up a notch or two, went through the gears and started to take a little bit more control in the game. Peppering Sonny Phillips' net, Callum Wells had a go from distance. Liam Chong got the rebound, had a go from close range, but it came off the pad of Phillips, where Cameron Bartlett, virtually on the floor, managed to sweep it home underneath the former Chelmsford goalkeeper and give them the 3-2 lead. The third period was quite tightly contested, and there were chances at both ends, no doubt, but both goalies were in phenomenal form. Lauday pulling off this incredible backhanded glove save with no stick in his hand. It was absolutely astonishing stuff. I think that might well have been in the first period, but it could have been in the third. It would have been up that end. But yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff from both goalkeepers. A really, really good game in the end, actually. The Chieftains killing a 5-on-3 in the third period as well, which showed really, really good sort of special teams play. And I think it was a good way, because these two are going to play each other in the playoffs. I can't see it changing, so this is going to be a playoff quarter final. And it was, some of the goals, they were pure playoff goals. You know, it's not always about the performance, it's about those little backdoor rebounds and clearing up the rubbish in front of the goal. And both teams did that terrifically. So I think the playoff quarter final between these two will be really, really tasty. So, but after his side, worked hard enough to get at least a point out of the game, they came away with nothing. But I would imagine that Jason Buckman is still incredibly happy with their performance.
It was an end-to-end derby game. Had a bit of everything. After the previous weekend performances, I really wanted the guys to step up and put in a good performance. I gave them a pretty hard time in training in the week. And, I think we matched Chelmsford for the 3 periods. Probably ran out of steam towards the end, pushing for the equaliser. But hopefully, the guys have learnt a lot and gives us a bit of an insight into potential playoff match-up with them at the end of the month.
Yeah, so double header weekend for us this weekend. The long trip over to Cardiff on Saturday, and then Romford back at home on Sunday. Again, a bit like I said last weekend, I think our objective was certainly 6 points and ice time for everybody. And again, I like to think we largely ticked that off. I maybe didn't get to use the bench as much as I would have liked on Sunday, but the nature of the way the game was going didn't really allow me to quite as much as I would have liked. But yeah, so Saturday we went and we knew we played Cardiff the previous week. You know, we know what they're all about, having just played them. However, I did think they would be slightly, probably more, I don't know the word, not more competitive, probably maybe slightly more physical and aggressive in a home game, but that never really came, and it took us a while to get going. I think it was bus legs and a bit of a slow start. Not slow start. It's just almost like we were not wanting to go into like the extra gears. It was kind of like a bit routine for us, and sometimes that happens in these kind of games. And you know, we got out of there with the exact same result that we'd put in at home the previous week, which was a 10-1 win. And you know, a win's a win, and at any level of sport, you're looking for the maximum points every night, and we achieved that. I am kind of happy that, you know, like the last 2 games we've got here in the league are going to be against Solent and Romford, because they're, you know, teams that we do have to sort of exert our game plan onto largely. Some things that happened on Saturday that we just wouldn't get away with ordinarily on another night. So yeah, so we made the trip home. It was a late one for everybody. It was a late one for me, and my journey isn't as bad as the guys that are sort of Essex based. So everyone got home quite late. Turned up Sunday to play Romford. We haven't seen them for a long time, way pre-Christmas since last time we saw them. And yeah, it was a much closer game than I would have liked. I think we ended up with a 3-2 win. You know, it was no surprise to us that Romford were going to turn up, work hard, disrupt our game plan, and be hard to play against. So, you know, that didn't or shouldn't have come as a shock to anybody. But I do get it. The guys were flat for a large part of the game. Long travel the previous night, you know, and probably coupled with the game that we played Saturday, probably saw us being a bit, flat. I suppose I said the word flat already, but I guess a bit flat. It was just a little bit slow and a little bit ponderous, which is not the way we play, and it's not the way we've been playing for the last little while, quite a while. So, yeah, it took us a while. We got there at the end. You know, Mikey and Guy, I think it's Dervish, Guy had a fight at centre ice, you know, an old school rock'em sock'em fight, and that got us going, and we really needed that at that point in the game, sort of just towards the end of the second period. Came out and sort of saw the game out in the third, but you know, good for us to have a look at Romford. You know, that is, I don't know if it's 100% confirmed yet, but that's going to be who we play in the playoffs, quarterfinals in 1, 2, 3 weeks time, and we play them again one more time before that. So, you know, there won't be any surprises for either team when that playoff first round comes around. But yeah, we play Solent, and then we play Romford, and then we head into the playoffs, and I think that's good for us, because, you know, we're playing against teams where we're going to have to execute on our game plan, and not sort of freestyle it a little bit like we tend to do against other teams. But yes, I'd just like to say, you know, thanks to Shep and the Cardiff guys, you know, for 4 good games this year, and best of luck the rest of the way. Cheers to the Buccaneers guys. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks, and thanks to everyone who followed us, especially those that came to Cardiff, because I know that journey is not fun, and I know what times guys were getting home Saturday night. So thank you very much for all your support. Solent at home on Sunday, so we'll see you all there, and yeah, all the best.
Sunday night at the Link Centre then. It proves a difficult fixture for quite a few teams that visit there. And this game proved absolutely no different, as both teams actually went for each other from the very first off. First period was quite tight. Cardiff managed to kill off a late penalty for Jasper Quinn as the Wildcats tried to sort of pen them into their own zone in the last few minutes of the first. But into the second, and Cardiff had a lot more killing to do. Chris Fox and Josh Burnett, they both took roughing penalties. Josh Burnett took a 2-2, so Cardiff had a little power play, but they didn't get anything out of that one. They had to kill off an Aaron Reagan tripping penalty and a Jasper Quinn cross-checking penalty, so they killed off a 5-on-3 just after the halfway mark. But after killing that off, Ethan Taylor took 2 for interference on 34-45, and in that power play, a break from Cardiff as they were trying to pin Wildcats in, got pushed out, got back into the zone, and Shepherd and Lloyd laid on the assist for Bailey Hine Pitcher to make it 1-0 on 35-59 on the power play. And that was all they wrote for the game. A roughing penalty for Lewis James just after the goal, killed off well by the Fire, and then a Tom Stevens delay of game penalty in the third period, also killed off by the Fire. The not often seen 1-0 win in ice hockey, you know you had to work hard if you've come away with a 1-0 win. And despite the improved performances in recent weeks from Swindon, disappointing with the result was their head coach, Ken Forsey.
Disappointing performance from our side. Obviously, congratulations to Cardiff. It's a great 3 points for them to pick up, especially given their playoff chase. But for me, it was a poor one from our side. We didn't get our feet going. We didn't really stick to any of our game plan and really put them under enough pressure. We were way off the level that we've been at the last couple of weeks, and we've had some good results against Streatham and Slough. So, disappointing overall, but onwards and upwards, we'll pick it back up. We'll do some things in practice for this weekend, and we'll go again next weekend, where hopefully we'll have a much better, more coherent performance from the boys.
And coming back from a couple of heavy defeats to get this 1-0 shutout victory, Cardiff Fire player coach Ellis Shepherd.
The games for the Fire this weekend. The first game against Chelmsford home after quite a reality check the week before up in Chelmsford, and unfortunately the result was very much the same. I think we lacked a bit of jump, maybe licking our wounds from the week before as well. And credit to the Chelmsford side, they're a perfect blend of hard work and skill as well. And I think ultimately they had a bit too much for us that evening, and we felt a bit sorry for ourselves. We go into Sunday against Swindon. It's a must-win game. We know that Oxford are doing very well against Solent, narrowly missing out, so we knew that the emphasis was on us to put in a solid performance. And what can I say? I'm really proud of where we were on the Saturday compared to where we were on the Sunday. I thought we were tenacious. I thought we battled for every puck. We were hungry. Special mention to Scanners in net. Had a great game. 5-on-3. He made some big saves, and then credit to Rob Price, who was the man of the match that evening as well. A huge block to get the puck out the zone as well. And I think that was the turning point. I think 2, 3, 4 shifts afterwards, we go and get a power play goal ourselves. So, immensely proud of the performance we put in as well. It was good. Swindon are a very well drilled, well disciplined team. Our local rivals as well. So it was nice to get one over them this week.
The final game of Sunday then, up to the Thunderdome for the late face-off, the 6:45 at Planet Ice Milton Keynes, and the Solent Devils making that long trip up from the south. And it was a really tight game to start with. Both teams actually having good chances. The Devils having the better of the play, but the Thunder really do know how to put some pressure on at home. Didn't quite get in as many shots as they would like, particularly in that first period where they were outshot by 21-4, but the Devils just couldn't find a way through. Into the second period, though, and it still took them 9 minutes and 12 seconds of that second period to get their go-ahead goal, and it came from Jack Hoppes on 29-12. 33-26 saw Liam Coleman get his first of the night, and that was the first of 3 goals in quick succession, as Coleman added a third on 35-59, and Kane Russell added a fourth on 38-59. Again, massively outshooting their hosts in that second period, 18-5. Into the third period, though, and Solent really started to express their fitness as well on that large ice, and take control of the game. Liam Coleman netted his hat-trick goal on 51-26 before a late power play goal from Harry Harkup after Dominic Welthall was given a 5-minute penalty for kneeing. But just after he'd returned, Aston Lacey scored a delayed penalty goal after Welthall ended up getting given 5 and game for boarding, but with the hand up and Aaron Taylor making his way to the bin. Beg your pardon, actually, Cooper Ivey making his way to the bin because he'd replaced Aaron Taylor for the final few minutes. They got the delayed penalty goal through Aston Lacey to give it an 8-0 victory on the road. Solent probably looking for something like that after that really, really hard game on the Saturday night at home to Oxford. No thoughts from Will Farrer, unfortunately, this week. He's actually moving house, and anyone who's done that will know that is the most stressful thing in the world. So, yeah, always appreciate Will's time, but absolutely, I almost said to him, you know what, don't today. You've got far too much on your plate. But off the back of a 6-point weekend where they certainly earned all 6 points, and off the back of making it 600 points for his Solent career, Solent Devils player coach Alex Murray gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Okay, yeah, this weekend we took on Oxford and Milton Keynes respectively. Oxford at home, Milton Keynes away. I think I've said a few times recently that we've sort of been in a bit of a strange patch since Christmas, really. Well, we haven't really found much form. We played well in bits, but we probably lost games that we feel like we shouldn't have. And yeah, it was one of those. And Saturday, starting with Oxford. We talked about, making sure it was, getting guys back into the groove and finding rhythm, being clinical, and guys have opportunity that maybe haven't had some in recent weeks. So it was just that, an opportunity for us to put some things right. But I don't really think that we managed to do that. I think the game as a whole we completely controlled. I mean, Oxford, to their credit, played well themselves. They never gave up. They were tenacious. They were hard-working. But the problem I have, which is the difference between us and those 3 teams at the top, is that when you control 80%, 90% of the game, but the score is still 0-0, 1-0, you're 1-0 down, you keep teams in the game. They remain focused, high energy. If you get into a 2-3-0 lead, they often go away, and I've said that's a massive thing for us that we've got to start doing more so of. If we get into an A lead against teams at our place, we tend to go on and win. Against the lower end teams, 5, 6, 7, 8-0, 8-1 or whatever. But again, conceding first against Oxford just gave them life, and they never went away. And we never put the game to bed. We had multiple chances, so many high danger, and yeah, Miller, to his credit, played well, but he always does, But the other big teams find ways to get past him. And ultimately, it was down to the third period, and I told the guys they needed to pull their finger out, and we did. We got to 5-3. They pulled it back to 5-4. Again, more testament to them, but also, that game should have been long gone, and you keep their crowd in it as well. They were great. As was ours, but when the away teams bring in some crowd and giving them life, they've got the energy to keep going. So, look, we got there in the end. It was nice to get Rory a game back in. It was nice to get some other guys out on the ice, and yeah, I think we got there is probably how I describe that. Sunday was a completely, slight contrast. I think the first was probably similar. Dominated the game, but just couldn't score. But to be fair to Aaron in goal, he played incredible. Aaron Burton for Milton Keynes. But we've got to put that puck in the net. Then some pretty bad stuff from Milton Keynes, which is not common in the game with us. They ended up with 50, 60 plus penalty minutes. Some of the things we'll be reviewing and looking into because we weren't happy. The hit on Hutch, which led to 2 fights breaking out, which we think was third, fifth man in, and then the kneeing on Liam, which was unbelievable in the last 5 minutes, and you can't do anything about it. You can't go and seek retribution in the last 5 minutes because they have this rule now where if you have a fight in the last 5 minutes, you get suspended. But there's our guy unable to get off the ice. And yeah, we really can't do anything about it, which is frustrating. That said, it was good to see the lines clicking last night. We mixed it up a little bit. We sent some of the guys to Div 2 to Bristol, and that didn't quite work out for them, although I think they've secured qualification. So, yeah, it was a professional performance in the end, 8-0. It's good to see the Cooper get out on the ice. You know, he's really helped us out backing up. You know, him and his family doing tremendous miles just to help us out, you know, while we're struggling with goalies at the moment. So, overall, 6-point weekend. It was good to get back to winning ways, and we've got 3 games left in the league before we start gearing up for playoffs, and that's what we're doing. So, yeah, on to Romford next week and Chelmsford away, and we'll see where we're at after that.
Well, what an absolutely stunning weekend of Britain hockey. Most games, a fantastic advert for hockey at this level as well. Some close ones, you know, the odd blowout, but yeah, the old 1-0 win as well in ice hockey, that does not come around too often. So after some pretty incredible performances from some players actually this week, some really good performances, let's have a look at the stars of the week. Well, massive shout-outs this week to the Moore boys at Slough and, of course, Ollie Hemmings-Mayer, who we said earlier had an absolutely fantastic game in that 11-1 victory over Invicta on Saturday. But we'll go in. The third star of the week is Solent Devils' Liam Coleman, notching 3 goals and 4 assists in a 6-point weekend for the Solent Devils as they virtually cement their 4th place finish. In fact, I think they do cement that 4th place finish. Then second star of the week goes to Grant Bartlett, who took home 2 goals and 7 assists, a 9-point weekend for Grant Bartlett in a 6-point weekend for the Chieftains. But taking the star of the week for the second week in a row is Cameron Bartlett, having the weekend of a in-form Canadian import, notching 11 points with 5 goals and 6 assists. Taking him to 43 goals this season. He's nearly 20 ahead of the chasing pack in goals so far this season. Absolutely incredible year for Cameron Bartlett. Seems to be really enjoying his hockey. I spoke to him last week after he was Star of the Week, and he's thoroughly enjoying his hockey. I really would hope, actually, at the end of the season, I'd love to sit down with both Grant and Cam on a sort of a face-to-face episode at a studio somewhere. Be really, really good to catch up with how the boys are getting on now. They were both on the podcast, of course, but about 2.5 years ago, and so much has changed since then. You know, Lewis Clifford's Chieftains is a much different side. Took the playoffs last year, took the cup this year, looking to go back to the playoffs again this year. So I'd love to sit down with Cam and Grant and discuss the last couple of years at Chelmsford. But yeah, 43 goals so far this season for Cameron Bartlett. Absolutely astonishing stuff. So let's have a look at the league table, because there has been changes, and the changes have come at the top. So after those results, Slough Jets are now back in that number 1 position. They've played 33, won 27, 2 overtime wins, 1 overtime loss and 3 defeats. They've broken that 200 goals mark as well now this season. Only conceded 57, but they have 86 points. They are 1 point ahead of the Streatham Redhawks, who have played the same amount of games and won the same amount of games. That 1 point is an overtime loss to Invicta, ironically, who they absolutely smashed on Saturday. And that's the point at the moment that's keeping them ahead in the league. In third place, then, I don't think they can really go anywhere else. 3 games left, of course, which is 9 points. They are only 8 points behind the Redhawks, but I can't see the Redhawks maybe dropping any more points. But we wait and see. You know, I said there could be more twists. There could still be more twists. Third are the Chieftains, played 33, won 24, 1 overtime win, 3 overtime losses and 5 defeats, 77 points. In fourth, and they are now locked in fourth, is the Solent Devils. Played 33, won 21, 1 overtime win, 1 overtime loss and 10 defeats, 66 points. Into fifth, the Invicta Dynamos. Played 34, so only 2 games left for them. 116, 2 overtime wins, 2 overtime losses, 14 defeats, 54 points. Into sixth, played 32, so they've got 4 games left where they can make that jump above the Invicta Dynamos if they win all their games. I think they're going to need a slip up from the Invicta Dynamos to do that, but as I said, there could still be twists. We wait and see. Romford in sixth have played 32, won 13, 2 overtime wins, 1 overtime loss and 16 defeats, 44 points. Into seventh then, also played 34, same as Invicta, so only 2 games left. In what has been a pretty successful first season, I think, for the Swindon Wildcats. They've played 34, won 11, 2 overtime wins, 2 overtime losses and 19 defeats, 39 points. And then we do have no confirmations as yet, but the next game will confirm it. In 8th, it is the Cardiff Fire. They've played 34, won 7, 3 overtime losses and 24 defeats. They have 24 points. Needing a slip-up and needing to get 2 wins, the Oxford City Stars. They've played 34, won 5, 2 overtime wins, 1 overtime loss and 26 defeats. They're on 20 points. So being 4 points back, both on the same games, they need Cardiff to lose both their games and they need to win both of theirs. And then sitting at the bottom of the table are the Milton Keynes Thunder. They have 4 games remaining. One of those, though, is against the Chelmsford Chieftains, which is not looking likely to get arranged. I know that the Thunder are struggling to get some ice for it. So, we wait and see whether that game will go ahead. I would imagine if it doesn't, it will get awarded as a 0-0, but we will wait and see. So, the MK Thunder have played 32, they've won 1, and they've lost 31, and they just have the 3 points down there in 10th. But I'll tell you, that title race, my good Lord, did it set fire this weekend. There was, as I said earlier, the Britton Division title has just caught fire. In the Morley, it is all over. We'll start with the results. On the Saturday, the 8th of March, Blackburn Hawks took a 5-4 victory with a shootout over the Hull Jets. The Sheffield Scimitars, they lost 10-4 at home to the Deeside Dragons. And the final game of Saturday saw the Widnes Wild beat Nottingham Lions 8-4. Into the Sunday and taking another 6-point weekend with another high-scoring game, Deeside Dragons beat the Leeds Knights by 9-3. Blackburn Hawks got a 7-1 win at Sheffield against the Scimitars. And the Billingham Stars beat the Solihull Barons by 8-4. That confirms the Billingham Stars as the back-to-back Morley League champions. Congratulations to everybody with the big red machine up there in Billingham. Second league title in a row. They will be heading to that Coventry playoff weekend, but who will they be playing, Slough or Streatham? They'll wait and see. And the final game of Sunday in the Morley Division saw the Whitley Warriors take a 9-4 victory over the Nottingham Lions, giving the Lions a pretty naff weekend on the road with an 8-4 and a 9-4 loss. But yes, as we said, the Billingham Stars, league champions in the Morley Division. So they will head to that Coventry weekend. There was also the North 2 title. That was also decided this week as Telford Tigers also went back-to-back winning the league for the second year in a row, which is astonishing, really, considering the start that the Sutton Sting had going 22 undefeated before losing to the Tigers. Such a tight league. But the Tigers have taken it from the Sting, and they are the back-to-back champions in the Labour Division, so congratulations to everyone at Telford. The Wilkinson Division is getting close because the Peterborough Phantoms were sitting top, sitting pretty, having played all their games. Guildford Phoenix are chasing. 2 games left, 4 points behind. We will wait and see what happens there in the Wilkinson Division. Let's have a look at the fixtures then for next weekend in the Britton Division. 5 p.m, Solent Devils, Romford Buccaneers at Planet Ice in Gosport. 5:45 at the Stables, Invicta Dynamos host the Swindon Wildcats. The games between those two this year have been really, really good, so I would expect that one to be a cracker as well. And the Slough Jets, now knowing it's in their hands, they just have to keep winning. They're hosting the Milton Keynes Thunder at the Hangar, 6:30 on Saturday the 15th of March. Into Sunday the 16th, 5:15 at the Sapphire. Romford Buccaneers against Slough Jets. As we said, they just have to keep winning. That is a potential banana skin. Romford are incredibly hard to beat at the Sapphire, so we will keep our eyes on that one. 6 p.m. at the Riverside. Chelmsford Chieftains take on the Solent Devils in a game, sort of a replay of the cup final that happened recently. I don't think either of those sides are really going to move from where they are in the league now, but that will remain third against fourth. 6:15 at the Oxpens. The Oxford City Stars welcome the Invicta Dynamos as the Dynamos finish their league season up there in Oxford at 6:15. And 6:45 at the High Road. What a weekend for the Milton Keynes Thunder as they face the top 2 on the road both nights. Wow, Streatham Redhawks, Milton Keynes Thunder, 6:45 at the High Road. Well, that just about does us for our Roundup episode. Thank you so much for everyone for listening, the coaches for getting their thoughts into the podcast. It's the only sport podcast in the world that has coaches' thoughts from right across the division we cover. I cannot thank the guys enough for their time. They really just... It might only be a couple of minutes. It might be a few seconds. It might be 6-7 minutes. I just appreciate their time every time that they send it in. It really does make a massive difference. Thank you so much for everyone that sort of caught up with all the episodes that we did last week. Coming later this week, a massive episode that I'm really, really excited for. I'm going to be catching up with Chelmsford Warriors player James Hounsome, who's working his way back from a knee injury to try and get back up as high as he can play in UK hockey. He's played at every level available so far, and I'm sure he'll work his way back. That one might well be a two-parter because I think that's going to be a long episode. We've been chatting over the last couple of weeks. Now we've got the episode sorted, so that's going to be a really good one. And then coming the week after that, I'm going to be catching up with Chico Cole, the former Solent Devils goalkeeper, who is, of course, having his testimonial game at Solent on April the 25th. So Chico's going to come on, reveal a few of the players that are going to be playing in his testimonial, talk through some of the stuff that will be happening on the night. Unfortunately, I can't be there. I'm absolutely gutted. I'm on a golf weekend. But Chico did, before he told me what weekend it was, he asked me, could I come down and sort of compare and host and commentate and whatnot. And then he told me what it was, and I was like, I can't make it. It's a proper shame. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to speaking to Chico and seeing how everything is going for the sort of setup for his testimonial down there. And then we're looking to get a couple of more guests in before the end of March. Danny Newlove from the Kingston Diamonds will get her booked in as well. Trying to get a couple more players on before we get into playoffs. I know it's a bit of a dodgy time that not a lot of people like to do a lot of talking around playoffs, but we'll wait and see who we can get. I have reached out to a few people, just waiting to hear back to get it all confirmed. So once again, thank you so much for listening. Really do appreciate everybody that listens. I met a few people on Sunday night at Chelmsford actually that I'd not met before who have enjoyed the podcast, and I love hearing when people enjoy the podcast. It does really make it all sort of feel worthwhile and worthwhile doing. So thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.